making this possible. And yeah, today Luca and I will show you 3 Jira hacks with custom fields. And now I will hand over to Luca.
Yes, thanks, Kavita, and also thank you from me to the host for having us here today. So yeah, as the title suggests, today we will be showing 3 different ways to improve your product management with custom fields. So we will, of course, talk a little bit about Jira standard custom fields a bit, but also on how you can make even more out of custom fields in Jira with certain apps and overcome some of the limitations in this regard. So for this, we will look at 3 different Jira users today who are not really satisfied with the way they currently work. So they want to improve their product management and are looking for ways to improve their workflows. So today we are going to take a closer look at David, the product manager, Sarah, the product support lead, and of course on Anna, product owner. So yeah, let's just start with David and get to know him and his situation a bit better. So as I said, David is a product manager. He has a wide range of different tasks and manages various aspects of his product. He's especially very busy with collecting, aggregating, and managing new feature requests he gets in. So in day-to-day work, they come from all different possible sources, like direct customer feedback and from the sales team as well, that gets it from sales calls and demos. And even internally, there's some feedback that is brought to him, and colleagues frequently talk to him about some suggestions that could improve the app or could the app, all in all, make better. And while it's certainly very nice that so many people care about the product and give feedback and have an opinion, it also, of course, brings a few challenges. Because David, in his situation, he wants to find a way to categorize those feature requests. They are from different sources, so he wants to see directly where the request comes from when he looks at an issue that he created about this request to implement it in the app. Because for David, suggestions have different priorities. So the ones that come directly from the customer, for example, or from customer calls that have a really high priority, whereas internal suggestions from the marketing team, for example, can be taken a little bit later. So in this case, it's very important for him to be able to have both an overview about the source of a request at just one glance and the ability to categorize and prioritize the request accordingly to this categorization system. So, of course, as you may know, this is all possible within Jira itself. I'm sure many of you have already used the native label feature. And with tags, with labels in Jira, you can give requests certain tags, and feature requests can then be found and filtered via those labels you just you gave to an issue. But there are 2 main problems with the standard version of labels, the native version of labels in Jira. The first problem is they are gray-blue, which is not only boring to look at, but also it's not very recognizable which tags mean what. So in this case, when a source is selected from a request that David gets from somewhere, it isn't really clear what the source is and which channel it came from, and where the suggestion all came from. So this is one problem. The other is his team is not really disciplined when it comes to assigning labels. So he regularly finds new adventurous variants of labeling issues. We can see it on the screenshot. Perhaps some of you might be familiar with that. Spelling mistakes, different variants of words, special characters, duplicate entries, all that. All of this makes it, of course, difficult for him to capture the most important information, as well as to filter and find labels consistently. So this is where something comes in that can help David with those challenges. And actually, in this case, something like colored labels can really make a difference. So if we move on to the next slide, we can see it here. that's a really straightforward and easy to use solution. So I've brought two screenshots here with me today. On the left, you can see the configuration part of it. You can define in the configuration all the possible options that should be selectable within an issue. So in this case, in this example, we use different colors for the different channels, like customer feedback, for example, with support tickets and surveys is green, as well as product demos, sales calls, sales input. So general everything concerning sales is blue. And then, of course, internal suggestions like from customer success management or from engineering is defined as yellow. And of course, we can always go back into the configuration and add more labels and add more colors, more categories, like we did here in the example with competitive analysis, which would be purple. Of course, there are many more colors to choose from. And we can, of course, also set an order and how these labels should be displayed. And this is exactly what you can see on the right here. So if David chooses to add a label to an issue, he can choose from the list we defined in the configuration. And basically, this means no more typos, double entries, or irrelevant data, because we made a predefined list of labels which we can choose from right within the issue. And in this case, since this task deals with a request from a customer who requested something via a support request, David just selected customer feedback and as well as support tickets here. Right. So if we move on, you can see on the left side how it would be displayed within an issue. You can see David and his team when they look at an issue, they directly see the labels and can directly see at just one glance what the context behind this issue is, and always enjoys up-to-date information. In this case, he directly understands that this request must be very important since it came from a customer directly and also was mentioned in a product demo. So he can prioritize it accordingly, and in this case, higher than other requests. And of course, on the right side, just as you are used to from Jira standard labels, you can also search and filter for the colored labels. So you can just click on a label, for example, customer feedback, and then you see all the different tasks and requests in this case that were tagged with customer feedback. So everything that was brought to him via direct customer feedback. So to wrap things up regarding the colored labels, you can say that in this case, they allow product managers to quickly categorize issues, which give them more clarity and also speeds things up a bit and allow for more speedy decisions. And because we have, as I talked about, we just have this reliable data in every issue. So finding issues and filter for issues is easy and straightforward as well. So you can just click on a label and browse through all the issues that contain the selected text. Right. So great. Now that we have helped David with this problem, let's move on. And as you might have noticed by now, custom fields are kind of our thing. Both Kavita and I are working in a small team at Cyber Group, sorry, on an app called also Custom Fields. We offer a solution for various different use cases in both Jira and Jira Service Management, which we will also see later. And we want to help Jira admins and regular Jira users to prioritize, estimate, and calculate right in Jira within an issue itself. And we want to provide solutions that are easy to use and easy to understand for everyone. So not just people with very deep technical knowledge, but to everyday Jira user. Right. And because custom fields in this case are very powerful and you can do much things with them, but they can be a bit complicated to use, especially when something like automation is involved. So we say it doesn't have to be this complicated, and we want to provide some solutions for this. So as I just said in the beginning, it's all about custom fields and overcome limitations within standard Jira concerning the custom fields today. So we want to basically leverage possibilities from apps to improve your product management workflow. And we already talked about the visualization aspect of it and the customization. Especially in work context, it's very crucial to spot the information at a glance. And as you just saw, things like color labels or other fields, what we also see later in the presentation, can help improve visibility and put your most important information front and center. Right. So this would be one limitation we want to talk about today, lack of visual customization, but also we want to tackle the problem of limited functionalities. So if any of you already use custom fields in Jira, you know they're very great and very useful in many different contexts, but sometimes they can be a bit limited. So this is especially true for things that require a bit more advanced configuration, and that makes it a bit difficult to represent more complex data or use cases. And an example for this is the cascading selection. So unfortunately, in Jira standard, it allows us only to use 2 levels of selections. And if we want to set up something more advanced, like a help desk, for example, that needs more than just 2 levels, that can be done with the standard custom field. So in this case, we would need an app. And actually, just the case that I've mentioned is what Sarah is facing right now. So as I said in the beginning, we want to talk about David, but also about Sarah, the product support lead. And she primarily works in Jira Service Management and not in standard Jira, because she oversees a help desk team that handles various user requests. So these requests include technical issues, feature requests, billing inquiries, and many more things. And her challenge is it that, or her problem rather, is the ticket categorization, because often users submit general tickets like software issue and other things that are not very specified, and they do not really specify this exact need. So especially not the category and the request can be sorted in. And this leads for Sarah to frequent delays because she has to manually read through all the requests to see which people the task should be assigned to, because there's no category given in the request. And of course, as I said, this can be done in Jira Standard. But in this case, for Sarah, it's 2 levels are just not enough. So we have the cascading select field, which can be configured with 2 levels of cascading selections, but she needs a third one, because for the product and the help requests she's dealing with, they are a bit more complex and she needs more options, needs at least 3 levels of selections. And she also needs the possibility that customers can select multiple selections. So for example, if a problem affects 2 different options or even 3. This would be the one. This would be the first problem. And the second one is the second problem lies within the inefficient ticket prioritization that results out of it. So as I already mentioned, without the selection capabilities, she often struggles to prioritize accurately, and the full context is difficult to grasp for her, and workflows are less efficient. So why not? Why don't we have a look at a service desk that properly serves their needs? I hope this works now. I can just switch into the live system right here. Okay. So this is the awesome custom field configuration of a cascading select field. I already prepared something that is fitting for her needs. Like we are using the cascading select field, which is compatible with both Jira and JSM actually, but we are focusing on JSM here today. So right here, Sarah did put all the information, all the options she needed in the cascading select right here in the mask, and she can always view it and test it in a live preview above. And yeah, here's everything already configured. And if we switch now to the customer support desk, if someone wants to, someone wants to submit a request, we can already see this custom field right here. So if you are a customer, we just choose an example. So in this case, I'm a customer that noticed that the interface isn't really accessible, for example. So we will just put it here in the summary. I want to add more accessibility in the more accessibility in general. And we can also put a description here, just as you are used to from a standard JSM submit. And then we can just put more further details about our request here. So in this case, it's an accessibility problem, and we want a new feature. So we would choose here feature request. Of course, it's a usability improvement, so we choose this. And then the third option, customer might not be sure which one to choose here because it both affects the user interface, and of course, it also affects accessibility. So we just put both of them here and hit send. In the meantime, we can switch to the agent view and hope that the issue was already created here. We can switch back. Okay, so now we can see this the selection the customer made is already viewed here in the customer view. If you switch to the agent view, here's the customer that wants to have more accessibility for the app. And then we can see that the agent can see the option that the customer selected as well, user interface and accessibility. Right. But actually, Sarah isn't really happy with this because only the last two options, or the last option that was selected, is viewed or is displayed. So she wants to see the whole selection path that was made. So everything that comes prior to the selection made with user interface and accessibility. So we go back into the configuration. And we can, if we scroll down, see that there are several different options that can also be made right within the cascading select. For example, we can enable multi-select. As I said, customers can select multiple things in this example, but we can also disable this so that there's only one selection possible. We can also choose that selections should be required. And this is especially important and especially interesting for users in Jira. The visibility can also be restricted. But in this case, we just want to focus on the delay options because we want to show the cascade path. So we choose this one here, hit save, and then everything should work now perfectly. We just reload this here. We can also reload this view. Perfect. So now the whole selection part is displayed here: feature request, usability improvement, user interface, and accessibility, as well as in the agent view. If you just open here the sidebar again. Right, so here's it displayed as well, and she sees, okay, user interface, accessibility, it's a feature request. So she can just assign it to the person that is responsible for this, and then, yeah, we can just, we can just see the full path of the selection, and it's displayed here in the issue. And after this, Kavita will now be taking over and tell you even more about custom fields and what is possible with them.
Yes, thank you. I think you have to stop sharing so I can share.
Yep, 1 second. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So thank you, Luca, for showing us how Sarah can better categorize her tickets now. And yeah, let's have a look at the third limitation we want to address. So yeah, while Jira offers several basic custom fields functionalities, some of them can be complex. So for example, when it comes to do calculations, the only way this can be handled natively is with using Jira automations. And this can quickly become complex and time consuming to set up the rules and etc., especially if you're not familiar with automations and don't use it on a daily basis. So yes, speaking of complex and time consuming, before moving on with our third and next persona, I would like to know more about your opinion, and I have prepared a question using Mentimeter. So the first question would be, how familiar are you with setting up automations for calculations in Jira? I will also display the QR code and share the link in the chat. So it would be cool if you can take part and answer those two questions, that we can see how familiar everyone is with automations. I will wait maybe just another moment. I think we have like more than 20 participants maybe. Okay.
We have one person who has voted in the chat, and option is B for him.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so maybe I'll switch to the next question and I'll come back here. Yeah, but it already looks like there are a few who are very familiar and a few who are not familiar at all and somewhat familiar. And the second question would be, if you would have to do a calculation, can you set up an automation rule in Jira without using any help or documentation? Yeah, wait a few moments here as well. Okay, so it seems like we have a few experts, but also a lot of our participants who would need help. So I think it's good for our use case now. So I will switch back to our third persona. So our third persona is Anna. She's a product owner and manages a development team. And she needs a reliable method to prioritize her tasks, which are supposed to be based on the three values of the impact of the feature, which is implemented, the confidence the development team has to implement this, and the ease of development. And yeah, that's why she wants to implement the I-score. I don't know how familiar this is, but the I-score will multiply three of those values, and the highest value will be prioritized, the most important task to be tackled next. So yeah, so she wants to use the I-score method. So her team focuses on the most important features first. And the goal with the ICE method is to provide a consistent and data-driven approach for her backlog prioritization. And yeah, to implement this I-score calculation, she will typically try to do this with Jira automation, since there's no other native way to do calculations. So, but there are two main issues, just like how our survey showed. Just like most of us who would need a documentation, Anna also would need a documentation and help to set up automation rule. And that's because yeah, automation can be complicated if you don't use it on a daily basis. So yeah, it's complex to set it up if you're not familiar with the rules. And another issue, or a lack of the automation rule, is that with the Jira standard number fields, you can only show the you can only have a standard number view of the field, and you cannot highlight any important tasks. So I will show how Anna, or any of you who would like to do calculations, can set this up easily with the use of awesome custom fields. So for that, I will switch to the Jira Software Cloud instance. And here you can see a issue. We also prepared already prepared a field which is filled by Jira Automation. So this is how you would typically do it in a Jira native way. So it's possible. You have the 3 values which are multiplied with each other. And when you change it, the automation will do the calculation and update the field. So it works as well. But yeah, I will show you how you can do this with awesome custom fields. And for that, I will switch to the app section. Awesome custom fields. And yeah, so what you see is the custom fields administration, which is a way to create custom fields in a more user-friendly way. So you can do it in a Jira standard way as well. But we have this configuration where you can manage all custom fields. You can delete them. You can edit the configuration and the value all in one spot. So to create the custom field, I would simply go to create custom field. And I want to do a calculation. So I will select the advanced formula field and name it ice score. Yeah, so you can see this field here. You can enter the formula. So this is based on Jira expressions, but we have implemented autocomplete, which makes it more easier for the user. So you don't have to find out the custom field ID of the fields you want to calculate. To activate the autocomplete, you simply have to go to enter issue and dot, and then you can see all the number fields which are displayed on the issue itself. So this is the name, and this is the custom field ID. But you don't have to. So we make it like very easy for users to do calculations. So we want to calculate the 3 values which I showed. Issue with confidence and ease. So that's it. You just have to do the standard operations you have to do and the fields, and that's it. Here you can see how the calculated value will be displayed. You can change the size. You can also change the color. And also optionally, you can add a decimal place or not. And in the next configuration screen, you can select in which screen you want the custom field to be displayed. So I think it was this. And then click on create. And that's it. So you don't have to look for any documentation on how to set up an automation rule. And yeah, if you go back in the issue and refresh it, the field should be there. So it's available here. And if you change some of the numbers, it should. So you can see it's the same, but with the color and the configuration that you set up. But what we can also do is we can go further with awesome custom fields. You can go to the configuration of the field and you can add a color code. So which means for me as a product owner, it's easier to see, okay, is the issue green, which means I can prioritize it higher. For that, I can go back to the configuration. Back in the configuration screen, you have this option called value-dependent color. So if you activate this, you can say all values under 200 are not that important, so it can be red. You can also add like everything under 500 is like somewhat important or medium important, and everything about 500, so the rest would be very important, and make it green. You also have the option to validate this configuration. So yeah, you can check if it works. So it seems to work. And then you can click on save. So if you go back on the issue screen, so that's correct since it's like medium or somewhat important, but if we like say our developers are very confident to implement this feature and increase the number, or still too low, increase the impact. Yeah, so if it's above 500, it's green, so I will know like, okay, I will prioritize higher. So this is an easy way to do calculations with additional color coding. So you do have the same calculations with Jira Standard, but it's with more technical knowledge and less of a highlight. So that was the showcase, and now let's switch back to the presentation. Yeah, so now that was the third showcase, and we have come to the end of our presentation. So the key takeaways from today are that, that with the help of awesome custom fields, you can simplify complex calculation without much help of documentations. You have faster setup and configuration times even for non-tech users. And you can also add visual clarity to issues, be it with color labels or the value-dependent color, as shown in the demo. And in general, you can work more efficiently with the help of third-party apps like awesome custom fields. And yeah, so today you did see Luca and myself presenting, but this is the team behind the app. So we have Sonia, our designer, Paul and Leo as our developers, and Luca, our product marketing manager, and myself. So you do have a QR code, but this will be displayed in the next screen as well. Yeah. So yeah, as I mentioned, we just showed only 3 use cases, but as Luca said, we have more than 20 custom fields with many use cases beyond project management. Like, for example, we have customers who manage test cases with the cascading multi-select, or customers who use issue picker for JSM and Jira to manage issue linking, and yeah, many more. So if you like to speak to us about your use case or any issue you would like to address, yeah, feel free to book a demo with me so we can talk and find a suitable solution. And yeah, so here's the QR code. And thank you for your attention. And now we will be open for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Luca. Thank you, Kavita. So I see one question in the chat group from Srinivas Raju. In the formula, can we get values of subtasks or linked issue fields?
Yeah, so you can get all number fields which are in the issue itself.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Any more questions, guys?
So, Kavita, can we use these in the reports or any other places in Jira, these automations that based on this, some report is triggered or something like that?
You mean in standard Jira report?
Not a standard, some like if we
But
customize some reports or something like that.
so you can use the custom fields, but you don't have the visualization. So for example, you can use the color labels, but on the card or on the dashboards, you don't display it in the colors. It's a Forge limitation.
Okay, yeah.
So we hope that we are on it. So our developers are also always watching if there's a new update on the Atlassian technical side. We'll surely implement that as well.
Okay, any more questions? Doesn't looks like. Okay, thank you, Luka and Kavita, for a wonderful, nice session. Hope to see
Thank
you
you.
again.
Thank you.
And thank you, audience, for being a wonderful audience.
Yep. Thank you very much, guys. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.